Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello, all you lovely people, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me, once again, is my friend, my colleague, my partner in crime, Mark Souza. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, it's going good, man. The weekend, the holiday weekend was nice. Nice to get out of town, eat some good food, hang out with family and friends, so I'm feeling good.
Yes, very good, very good. We have a lot to talk about in the world of football now, don't we?
A few things happened, I think, since the last time that we convened. What was it, on Wednesday? I know you had your show on Friday, but Thursday, Thanksgiving football, and then, of course, the crazy football action this last week, and especially in college.
Yes, absolutely in college. We have a lot to talk about there, but we'll get into the NFL first, then we'll go to college, because we have some things to talk about on the Week 12 matchups that happened in the National Football League. We'll start off with, let's start with one of the games of the week, the Packers and Vikings.
Sunday Night Football.
And Minnesota takes the victory here, 24-17. Kirk Cousins had 342 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a near-perfect game, a 129.5 quarterback rating, with Aaron Rodgers not having on paper not having a great game, but still played pretty solid. He only went 17-28, 198 yards and a touchdown, but he was doing his best to help this team stay in the game, and he was doing that.
There's only so much you can do. Quarterbacks are the most important players, but they can't do it all. So I think that's what we saw yesterday with Kirk Cousins getting a lot of help from his friends and Aaron Rodgers not getting the same support. That's what I saw, at least.
Yes, absolutely. And overall, the Packers are not looking too good right now to make it to the playoffs. I think it's a lost hope.
Oh, yeah.
And
what are they now, 4-6-1?
Yeah, and this puts Mike McCarthy on the hot seat.
Yeah, that seat's getting warmer by the week, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we saw Aaron Rodgers do what he could, but going back to what I was saying, Minnesota, I mean, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I know there are some good offenses in the NFL, Jeff, but that's as good of a trio as I think that there is. I mean, yes, Kelsey, Hunt, and Hill are very good. You have guys like Thomas, Ingram, and Kamara. In New Orleans, you have Gurley, Cooks, and Robert Woods. In Los Angeles, and of course with the Steelers, James Conner, Smith-Schuster, and Antonio Brown. But you got to think that the Vikings, they got to be up there in terms of having those weapons right there. That trio can go up with the other best trios in the NFL, wouldn't you say?
Oh, without question. And this trio just seems to be lackluster almost, and it's not getting the job done. Because they're still not in the first in their division. The Bears are still up there. And honestly, if they have a shot to make the playoffs, they'll have to get the first in the division, no?
Do you think that this trio... Now, Thielen's been as consistent as pretty much anybody in the this season, but Diggs has had some ups and downs. Cook has been hurt most of it, but do you think that the Vikings' offensive play calling has been a big reason of their struggles, or do you think it's a Kirk Cousins problem?
Well, Kirk Cousins had a good game. Let's go with 340 yards this game. But, yes, I think we both agree they should give the ball to Devin Cook more. He's coming back off a nagging injury, true. But the fact of the matter is, he's still a dual threat, dangerous player that you need to give the ball to more.
Yes, they do. They probably will, as the season goes on, as he gets healthier and healthier, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And it just feels like this Vikings team, they coming off their NFC Championship appearance last season. They were all hyped going into the season, adding Kirk Cousins and losing Case Keenum. Like, that was only an upgrade. And they're playing worse than they had with Case Keenum. Do you think it's that play calling? Do you think it's like losing Jerick McKinnon? What do you see?
So I do think that a lot of it has to do with the play calling. I do think that some of it has to do with Kirk Cousins' decision making. What I've seen from the Vikings this year, and what I saw differently yesterday, which I think is an improvement, is I saw Kirk Cousins throwing the ball checkdowns and getting 5-6 yards instead of always
too conservative.
No. I'm thinking he needs to be more conservative because
I see.
When I've seen them struggle in the past, I feel like he's always trying to force the ball down the field instead of taking what the defense is giving him, kind of like a Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Drew
He's
Brees
more of a
and
Brett
Tom Brady.
Favre.
Yeah, Drew Brees and Tom Brady, they make a ton of plays downfield, but what they do, if you watch them over a whole game, is they just kill you with those little paper cuts, those 5, 6, 7, 8-yard pass plays, and then they get 3rd and short, 2nd and short. Whereas I feel like the Vikings would be like 1st and 10, throw it 25 yards down the field incomplete, 2nd and 10, throw it 15 yards down the field incomplete. Now all of a sudden you're 3rd and long. So I saw Kirk Cousins check the ball down yesterday, and I thought it really helped their offense. Now when you look at his numbers this year, 71% completion percentage. He has 3,200 passing yards. He's on pace to hit 4,500. That would be the second most of his career. He has 22 touchdowns, 7 picks. That's a very good ratio. 3-1 is very good in the NFL. His rating is 102. That shows me they just needed to move the ball more consistently. Like, the big plays are there, but they need to just matriculate the ball down the field a little bit more.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and like how Brady and all those other greats have done it is those short 7-8 yard passes, and then they have one guy looks like he's going a short route and then burst off into a long route, and that's unexpected, and then that's where they go deep. And yes, I think you're right, and they have the speed to do it. Diggs has the speed to do that. And
Diggs and Cook, more so than Thielen. Thielen's more of a big body possession receiver, but
Thielen can just get that 5-yard out and then get those extra 10.
But Diggs and Cook are a guy that you can throw the ball 2 yards to, and he takes it to the house. I mean, those two players have the speed and the athleticism to Tyreek Hill type play. Like, give me the ball on a screen pass, and then let me get 25 yards of my own. So
and then you can do that one long play. Like Tyreek Hill, how he does it is like 1-2 big streak plays a game, and those go into huge yardage. And then like this, Mahomes and Tyreek Hill kill you with those short passes, and then they come out of nowhere with those. Top. Yeah, exactly. And that's how you play football. I don't really know how else to explain it like that. And based off of that, it just shows that like maybe the Vikings are maybe just overhyping themselves going into this season. Like, we're so good, we can throw it anywhere on the field and we can catch it.
I think Cook makes the biggest difference because with Latavius Murray, he's a good running back, but he doesn't provide the pass catching ability or the threat that Cook does.
He's more of a power back.
Right. Like, Cook can put it all together. Yes, he's not Gurley. Yes, he's not Kareem Hunt, but he's right there. He's a better athlete than James Conner. Like, he is a player that can catch the ball. You know, you talk about a guy like McCaffrey, Barkley, Hunt, Gordon, Gurley, and then Cook's right there. I mean, yeah, has he done it as many games? No, because he's been hurt. But when he's healthy, the guy is a beast.
I think that's why they're not utilizing him as much, because they don't want to risk him hurting himself more.
Right.
And I think they're like thinking,
they're easing him in.
We have a shot at the playoffs, a small chance, but still a chance. And if we make it to the playoffs, we don't want him injured. I think that's what they're looking at.
Right, they're looking big picture. Yeah. For sure. I agree with that.
It's smart. Yeah, but sometimes you got to play a little more. Sometimes you got to make a guy get better, make a guy heal more, you got to put him in more. You know?
I did like that
they get used to that type of play.
Another thing, too, that I saw them doing yesterday that I think that they haven't been doing when they've been struggling is they used Rudolph. They got him 6-7 catches last night where he was just, hey, let's get 5 here, let's get 6 there, and that helps move the ball. So, yeah. But anyways, Packers I think are done. Vikings are in a good spot. And especially considering the fact that the Panthers lost. So let's move into that game.
Panthers Seahawks. Seahawks take this one 30-27 off a last-second field goal by Sebastian Janikowski.
Mm-hmm.
Does he look more overweight than he usually does to you?
Well, it was Thanksgiving week, so
True, but
maybe he had a few extra.
Ever since he joined the Seahawks, he feels like he's more overweight than he used to be with Oakland.
Well, when you get Jeff, let me tell you a secret about life here. All right.
Okay,
this
enlighten
is
me.
Life lessons with Mark. All right. When you get older, like in your 30s, your metabolism will start to slow down. FYI. So
I shouldn't be eating this badly.
I'm just saying it's better to get in a good habit.
So are you saying I should not go get McDonald's to give me a Big Mac with 10-piece chicken nuggets and large fry?
I'm just saying a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. So tread as you may. You know what I'm saying? So
all right. I see you.
So anyway, back to the football game.
I broke you on that one. Anyways,
Cam Newton, he had an interesting day.
He did have an interesting day.
McCaffrey had a huge day.
Probably the best game of the week. But
I would say best individual performance of the week.
That's what I was implying.
I agree with that. That he was all over the place. He had, 240 yards total offense, couple touchdowns.
Yeah, it was...
every time they gave him the ball, handoff or pass, it was like a big play, Yeah,
it was... He had a pretty outstanding game. It really shows why he was so highly touted coming out of Stanford and why he was a first-round pick. He gets the job done.
But now the Panthers have lost 3 in a row, and they've kind of put themselves in a precarious position as we approach the end of the season. But the Seahawks have been surging. They are now in a very good spot in terms of controlling their own destiny. They play the 49ers twice and the Cardinals once for the rest of the season. So they could easily get to 10 wins.
Yeah, and both the Cardinals and the Niners are looking for that first overall pick. Even though they
might not have to look very hard.
They've said it publicly how they're like, oh, we're not tanking this season, but in reality, they're tanking.
If you have to say it, then everybody knows you're already doing it, right?
Yeah. When you have to explain yourself, yeah, absolutely. And both teams, honestly, if the Seahawks beat all of them, that only benefits all 3 teams. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's it only benefits them in the long run.
So Seattle 6-5, Panthers 6-5, but it seems like both teams are going different directions now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both going in different directions. And one's going up, one's going down. The classic, what's the word I'm looking for? The classic, when one team rises, another one falls. Mm-hmm. Like an empire rises, an empire falls. Type of feeling.
Rome.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm getting at.
So that's a good transition to go into another game where one team's rising, one team's falling. The Patriots and the Jets.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the Patriots won. I think we pretty much knew that was going to happen, right?
Well, it was 10-10 at one point in the game, which surprised a lot of people, and surprised me, to be honest, when I was watching that game. I was watching on the Red Zone channel, which is, for what we do, is probably the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, it's 10-10. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's not 10-10 anymore. It's a blowout.
Yeah, but you got to hand to the Jets. They played hard. They had McCown playing quarterback, and I thought it was a good game from them. But you don't think the Jets with McCown are going to, or McCown, excuse me, not McCown, the former Bears quarterback, but Josh McCown. You don't expect him to win. You remember Cade McCown?
I do remember Cade
UCLA
McCown.
Quarterback, yeah.
Wasn't he in the NFC title game when Cutler got injured?
He might have
against the Packers in 2010.
I have no idea.
I think he was. I could be wrong.
Nah, I don't know if he lasted that long, but maybe I have no idea.
Who played who? Okay, now I got to look this up. Who played quarterback in the NFC title game for the Bears?
Anyways, while you're looking that up, it's pretty obvious that the Patriots are going to win. You see Gronkowski score a touchdown yesterday?
Yeah, it took him a couple of weeks extra than people thought, but yeah, he did it.
Now the Patriots have moved into second place in the AFC, so they would actually have a first-round bye if the season ended today.
Wow. That of course, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sky is blue, grass is green, Patriots get a first-round bye.
Yeah, so there's games to be played, of course, but as of right now, things are looking good for
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
Pats.
The leading passer, okay, the Chicago quarterback, because Jay Cutler got injured, was Caleb Haney.
Yeah, Caleb Haney.
Yeah,
All right.
we know who that is.
Yes.
Who's that?
Oh, he's played in the NFL, for the Bears, yeah.
He was undrafted at Colorado State. And he quarterbacked in the NFC title game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
So,
Anyways, moving on. Forget this guy.
let's talk about the Giants and the Eagles, shall we?
Okay.
I have a question. How, in a game where the Giants are winning for almost the entire game, how does Saquon Barkley only finish the day with 13 carries? Remember, he's your franchise running back. You picked him number 2.
He's on a bad team that doesn't know how to utilize him. That's the best I can come up with.
I just don't understand how you don't give the kid the ball 25, 30 times in a game you're winning.
Okay, how about this? They don't want to win. That's why.
Yeah, but the players and coaches want to win. Maybe the fans don't want to win, but the coaches are not trying to lose.
Well, it feels
They
like
have
they are.
jobs.
If they're not giving him they were up 19-0. And once you see the Eagles coming back, why not give him the ball again? Like, he's the one that put you up this high. Why not use him to put you up even higher?
Yeah, and he was carrying the ball 100 yards on 13 carries. I mean, that's a really good efficiency right there. So what's going on is the question.
You're telling me.
The Eagles win by the skin of their teeth. Carson Wentz still seems to be something off with him, no?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. If it's the injury, I don't think it's the injury anymore. I think it's like he's in his own head. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like he hasn't recovered mentally.
Yeah, and that's playing a huge factor in.
Like he was 20 for 28 again, but like I don't know. I just watch him. There's something off. Like he doesn't trust himself to make the plays downfield.
He needs to love himself. He needs to love himself, and love will come to him.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
It sounds very inspirational.
Thank you.
All right, you should put that on a card, maybe. I don't know.
A card?
Yeah, like love yourself, and then love will find you, or something.
Yeah, or I just. What is love?
Oh God, this is the football podcast, by the way, not the relationship and love advice podcast.
Well, there is a relationship podcast, I believe, in the GSMC podcast network.
Oh yeah. Are you a part of that one?
No, but I would be interested to go in one show about that. But anyways,
you have a lot to offer?
I'm just curious what it's about. I'm just curious of what I can, as a guy, what I can go in there and talk about.
Okay.
What I can add, yeah.
All right. Well, I think you could at least add a suggestion to the Giants that they should use Saquon Barkley more, especially in a game where they're winning. So
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty common, pretty obvious to general observers. But
I think that's an obvious statement.
do you think the Eagles are still in it? They're at 5-6.
Still in it, 5-6.
They're only one game out of the division lead, believe it or not. They do play Dallas again.
Now that
In fact, their next 2 games, Jeff, Redskins, Cowboys.
They can beat the Redskins, and if they do beat the Cowboys, they'll take the division. So
They also play the Redskins again.
It's possible. If they make it, I will be shocked, but it will be like, okay, because of what happened with the other teams in the division, it wouldn't like super surprise me. You know what I mean? It would be like one of those things where like they got lucky.
You just expect this division
they would have got lucky other teams' misfortune.
Yeah, you expect this division to just go off the rails, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe they're still in it. You just never know in that division. So, all right. What do you think? We take a break. We come back. We talk a little bit more NFL. Also, segment 3, college football had some big games. We saw a 7 overtime game. We saw Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. We saw Notre Dame and Clemson and Alabama stake their claim. But yeah, we'll talk about all these games.
I'm ready for some football. Are you? When we get back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We are finishing up the talk about Week 12 of the NFL season. So let's go Steelers. Steelers and Broncos.
Oh, that should be an easy win for the Steelers, right?
And they played really well. I mean, they had a 97-yard touchdown. How could they possibly lose a game where they're having so much momentum and so much offense when Ben Roethlisberger has over 460 yards passing?
460
I know
yards
how.
passing? Oh, that's got to be a win.
Yeah, I know how. Only scored 17 points and caused 4 turnovers.
That is not a recipe for success, my friend.
It is not, and they didn't succeed as they lost to the Denver Broncos.
Denver
Team that's
Broncos.
I feel like they're inferior to the Steelers.
Look at the Broncos crawling back from the dead, still in playoff contention.
Case Keenum's career in a nutshell.
Case Keenum. How'd he do?
He had a okay game. It wasn't anything spectacular, but he got the job done, so that's all that matters. I mean, his stats were as follows. I mean, he had 15 to 28, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns and no picks. Nothing flashy, but it got the job done.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder why they didn't give the ball to Philip Lindsay more, considering he, again, is very good with his touches.
He had over 100 yards rushing.
Kind of like Saquon Barkley. How did these guys not get the ball more in winning efforts? So, Barkley lost, but winning, I guess, most of the
running
game.
backs don't get as much love as they should.
It's like sometimes we got to just go back to the basics. Run the football, especially in a close game, especially when your running back is moving the ball really well.
Yeah.
And what else do you want? I mean, your running back has an 8 yards per carry average. You can't even give him the ball 20 times? Come on.
You have a point there, sir.
Yet, we see these box scores where it'll be like running back has 20 carries for 60 yards.
Yeah.
Whatever. So what did you take away from this game? Steelers were just obviously...
Steelers beat themselves, man.
Yeah, they made too many key mistakes.
Is that too obvious that they beat themselves?
They even needed a Chris Boswell touchdown pass to keep them in this game.
A Chris Boswell pass.
Did you watch that play? That was a nice little play, though.
I did. It was incredibly
Direct
unexpected.
snap to the kicker.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It was really unexpected. I did not see that coming. Did you?
Well, apparently Vance Joseph didn't either. Well, did you see him on the sideline? He was yelling at his team like, come on, guys, how did you not see that happening?
He's yelling at his guys a lot. Let's get real.
Yeah, well, his job is the one that I think is the most on the line of all the people on that sideline, so, you know.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
So
indeed.
Broncos go to 5-6. They're not dead yet, even if we don't think they'll make it. They're not dead.
Yes, absolutely. They're not dead. They are rising from the ashes.
Big loss for Pittsburgh, though, as they move to number 3 in the AFC.
They moved to number 3, and
They could move to 4 after tonight.
it would be a disappointing end to the season for them, definitely, if they had to.
If Houston wins tonight,
drop down that many points.
If Houston wins tonight, Pittsburgh has the 5th best record in the AFC.
Talk about just falling off the rails, right?
Yeah, definitely surprising when you look at it. But, a couple bad weeks in the NFL, and things change, like the Panthers, right? They were comfortable in a wild card spot. Now they look at the standings today. They're like, oh, man, we might need to win out to make the playoffs, or at least win most of these games, maybe lose one.
Yeah, like abort mission almost. Like, it's like fight another day. They were started off so hot, and now they're cooling off, and that is the worst thing you can do. Is cool, and right now in this part of this late in the season is cool off.
Speaking of a team that's cooled off, this team started 3-0. The Miami Dolphins. They lose yesterday, 27-24. They started off 3-0. Jeff, they are now 5-6.
5-6. 5-6.
And now the Colts have won 5 in a row and are sitting at 6-5. So what do you see from this game with the Colts taking the win?
I see the Colts maybe squeezing into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Colts, their defense is not terrible, and Andrew Luck has been playing at a great level this year. So he's leading that team. They found a running game with Marlon Mack. T.Y. Hilton is a good receiver. They use those tight ends very effectively.
Eric Ebron especially has been like 11 touchdowns this season, and with Detroit his entire career, he only had 11 touchdowns. He's tied his career touchdowns in one season.
Ebron, Doyle, they use a lot of tight ends.
And if you had Ebron in the fantasy football world like I did last week, you probably didn't think he would play this well again, and you were frustrated that he did so well.
Yeah, you made the mistake. You picked the wrong week.
Yeah,
So, the Colts have won 5 in a row. They are 6-5. So
you're 6-5. I'm kidding.
I know. I mean, well, one league I am 6-5.
Are you really?
But anyways, do you think that the Colts are a playoff team?
I'm going to go on a limb here. They have the potential to. They have a potential to squeeze into the playoffs.
How are you going to say I'm going to go on a limb and then say they could be? Like if you're going to go on a limb, you got to be strong either way.
You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
I said if they do make the playoffs, I'll go on a limb and say they make it all the way to the AFC title.
Wow. Well, okay. That's a limb. That is a limb.
You didn't let me finish, so that's why.
All right. Did you finish this time, or are you going to say, and they will win that game and win the Super Bowl?
And Andrew Luck will fly. He'll grow wings and fly into the end zone.
Yeah, he might. He's playing like a superhero right now. It's funny. In another year, he might be in the MVP conversation. But
he's definitely comeback player of the year.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, he went to.
I can't even think.
He went to a voodoo doctor, and I forget where.
Yeah, he had to go out of the country, so that's never good. All right, so let's move on to the Battle of Ohio.
The Battle of Ohio.
Yeah.
Cincinnati and Cleveland. Hugh Jackson versus Cleveland Browns. And there's one part of this game where I have to talk about, and where.
Well, who won first off?
Well, let me get to this point.
Okay.
There was an interception thrown by Dalton to the Browns, in where the defensive back went over to Hugh Jackson, who's on the Cincinnati sideline now, and handed him the football as a troll.
You don't think he was being nice, like a genuine, hey, Hugh?
No, I think it was a little bit of a middle finger.
Yeah.
And this led to the Browns handily beating the Bengals.
Cleveland is the best team in Ohio?
Maybe
I mean,
Ohio
NFL
State.
team?
Okay.
Baker Mayfield had a day.
He
4
did.
touchdowns.
And did you see what happened at the end of this game?
No, I didn't. What happened?
Well, Hugh Jackson was looking to handshake Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. And Baker Mayfield was shaking the hands of other guys, and he goes, Baker, over here, Baker. He's basically yelling for him. And he tries to shake his hand and give him that hug, that, like, you know what I'm talking about, that handshake into a hug. Got the handshake.
The bro hug? Is that what you call the bro hug?
Well, no, bro hug is like, that's a different type of handshake. But
okay.
He gave him a proper handshake and was going in for a hug afterwards. Grabbed his shoulder, looking to lean in, and Baker Mayfield was having none of it. Baker Mayfield just shook his head, going, "Yeah, bye."
At least Baker Mayfield didn't do what he did on the sidelines for Oklahoma last year, where he
grabbed his
he
grabbed his private parts.
His boys,
his boys was hot.
Yeah, at least he didn't do that though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been even
a little more subtle diss.
It would have been entertaining, no doubt about it. But
35-20 though, that's a that's a beatdown.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton.
I feel like Hugh
Bengals.
Jackson just loses to whoever team he's on. He brings a loss to every team he's on.
But did you hear the report yesterday by Jay Glazer that Hugh Jackson might be a candidate if Marvin Lewis is in fact fired? Can you believe that?
Why?
They can't quit you.
Have you
Hugh.
seen him with Oakland? Have you seen him with Cleveland? Have you seen him with any team he's ever been on ever?
So he must be great at interviews, like he must have some serious dirt on people. What do you think?
He has videotapes
Yeah,
from in
he
the
knows some
80s.
things.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense. It's like he goes to another team, they start losing immediately. All right, well,
Want to look at his coaching resume just for an example of who he's coached for and see how they've done?
Well, you went Bengals, then I don't know who he was with before the Bengals, but then the Raiders.
Okay, well, he was a running
Then
backs coach
Bengals.
for Washington in 2001 and 2002.
For the Redskins.
Yeah. And they weren't good in 2001 and 2002. He was the offensive coordinator for them in 2003. Again, not their best year. Wide receiver coach for the Bengals in 2004 2006. They were all right, but other than that, not really. Atlanta in 2007. Do you remember who was Atlanta's coach in 2007?
07? No.
I believe it was Bobby Petrino.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
And that answers itself, that problem. Then he goes to Baltimore in 08 and 09, where they have one of the worst seasons. And then he goes to Oakland in 2010 as the offensive coordinator. Again, not very good. Head coach in that 2011 season. Then he goes back to Cincinnati as a secondary assistant and special teams coach. Then is the running back coach. Then is the OC. And then is the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And we already know.
Very interesting.
And in 2018, he is the special assistant to the head coach, which sounds like what a movie is. Like a woman falls in love with her employer, her boss. That's his special assistant. He was assistant coach of the year in 2015, though.
There you go.
But you want to hear his regular season record? Officially,
as a head coach, he won 9 games?
11 games.
11 games. He's
44 losses and a draw. But, yeah. So he has not had the best of records when it came to seasons as coach of a team.
Yeah. So, what do you say we move on to another game?
Sure, I just love talking about Hugh Jackson's because it's funny.
How about Bills Jaguars? Jalen Ramsey and the War of Words. How did he do?
Well,
how did they do?
Jalen Ramsey put his foot in his mouth because they lost.
Do you think he actually did that?
Well, if he was very close to actually doing it.
So the Jaguars lose to the Bills 24-21. The Jaguars are 3-8. Are you shocked by that?
Yes, because they came off an AFC title appearance, nearly won that game too, and then drop off faster than a bowling ball dropping on a watermelon. I don't know. I'm not good at analogies.
I think that I didn't expect them to be 3-8 at this point, but I'm not surprised that they're out.
They are 6th. If the season ended now and the draft were all set up, they would be 6th overall pick.
I can't believe that they gave Bortles that extension, to be honest with you. I know that they try to get Kirk Cousins, but that extension's looking really bad because Bortles is not the answer. They need to move on.
Should they give Cody Kessler a shot?
No, they got to rock with Bortles the rest of the year. Cody Kessler ain't the future for them. If they don't go Bortles, they're going to go they're going to pick one. They have the 6th pick right now, like you said, if the draft started or ended, or if the season ended today.
They do have a shot at Justin Herbert if they switch picks with the Giants, who have the 5th pick, which they could possibly do. I can see them making a trade, maybe giving up the swapping picks.
I think we're going to see a team...
And then giving up a 2nd-round pick, maybe a 3rd-round pick.
I mean, I really believe this. I think we're going to see the Jaguars and the Giants get into a bidding war to get the top pick in the draft because it really feels like it's a one quarterback draft. Like, I know the kid from Duke.
Yeah, can I read something to you, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
The 4 picks in front of them are the 49ers, who have their quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Uh-huh.
The Cardinals, who have their quarterback in Josh Rosen.
Yes.
The Raiders, who have no...
They might need a quarterback. Uh-huh.
The Jets, who have their quarterback in Sam Darnold.
Right.
And that's it. So, only one... So
you're looking at the number 1 pick right there to jump.
Well, honestly, if they're looking for a pick to jump to get a quarterback, they might only have to look towards number 3. Because I don't see the Cardinals or the 49ers going for a quarterback in the first or second pick in the draft.
Right, but it might be like it might be that both those teams want to move to number 1 so they don't get jumped, right? Like the worst thing you can do right there, Jeff, is move to number 3 and then get jumped again. Like, if you're let's say right now the Jaguars are like, you know what, we'll move ahead of the Giants, but then the Giants go, you know what, hey 49ers, the Jaguars just jumped us. We're going to jump with you. We'll give you X and
What
Y
are
and Z.
you... All right, if you're the 49ers, what are you asking for?
A minimum... Okay, so you swap first off, right?
Yeah.
So you take the 5. You get at least 1 first-round pick.
So next year first?
I would say next year's first and a second-round pick this year. I would say that would do it to go to 5.
But do you think the Giants would risk a first-round pick next season?
I do, because you didn't go quarterback last year. Are you really going to risk missing the 1 quarterback in a one? Doesn't it seem like a 1 quarterback draft? Like the kid from Duke, yes, he's been talked about, but it's like Justin Herbert, right? Like
it's all Justin Herbert, yes.
So do you want to be the team that misses on the quarterback and be the New York Giants of this year? And the Giants don't want to be the Giants 2 years in a row, right? You know what I mean by that. It's like Inception, right? The Giants don't want to be the Giants of last year's Giants, you know?
That's just, you're blowing my mind right now, man.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But honestly, just risking another first-round selection and losing that next year would put a huge damper on your season because you're with a rookie quarterback if you go there.
Mm-hmm.
And
you could get another top 5 pick, right?
Yeah, you're probably going to be still rebuilding. Am I right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
That's why I'm being a little hesitant.
Yeah, but the Giants and the Jaguars are teams that you could say if they had good quarterbacks, that could be a decent team next year, right? I mean, there's other players there. Look at the Giants. They got Barkley, Beckham. Now, they obviously need to shore up the offensive line, but you could see them being a decent team, just as well as you could see the Jaguars being a decent team. With that defense, that running game, the Jaguars and the Giants, really, if they had competent quarterback play, they could be 500. Yeah. I mean, at least the Jaguars went to the AFC Championship last year. I mean, we can't forget that. So, the Giants play also in the NFC East. Like, who are the best teams there? You got the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Redskins. Like, that's a division for the taking next year.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I guess it all comes down to draft. Who you draft, how you improve your team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So we got a couple more games to get through. Oh yeah, the Jaguars fired their offense coordinator, by the way, Nathaniel Hackett. He's done. So maybe that will help them. But they're 3-8. Their season's over. Ravens Raiders. What did you think about this game?
Yeah. I thought of it as just a game where the Raiders were doing greater things.
Like what? Like giving up defensive and special teams touchdowns?
Just losing.
Yeah, and how they lost. The Ravens find themselves in a pretty good position for a playoff team, even with Lamar Jackson. Can we talk about
Gus Edwards real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about him.
118 yards, so another pretty decent game for the undrafted kid. Do you see him as a potential, like, this is going to be their starter for the next season?
I mean, the Ravens don't really... Alex Collins is their only other guy. They don't really have a dynamite running back ahead of him. They just have a placeholder, it feels like. So Gus Edwards, he's taking advantage of his opportunity.
Yeah. And I'm liking his future right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other game, of course, 49ers and Bucks, and probably the most unwatched game of the weekend. The Bucks win pretty easily.
They played?
They did.
Get it? Because
27-9, Bucks win. Nick Mullins didn't have a great game like he did in his first 2 starts. I think we all kind of saw that one coming at some point.
I think this only benefits the 49ers because they retain their first overall draft choice. If you're the 49ers, Winston, I don't think you're looking to... this season's a lost cause ever since Garoppolo tore his ACL. And honestly, if you're looking at a team with the most looking forward to next season, the 49ers could be looking really good next season because of how much they have in salary, and they have Jimmy Garoppolo coming back, and this potential number 1 draft pick.
Also, for the Bucs, we just talked about the Jaguars and the Giants. The Bucs could also be looking for a quarterback too. Maybe they're the third team that gets in that quarterback roulette. What do you think?
Quarterback roulette? Okay, I can see that.
Well, do you think that they'll keep Jameis Winston? If they don't, they got to draft a quarterback, right?
Yeah, I do. I see that.
So maybe they'll get in.
Yeah, possibilities.
All right, so what do you think we take a break? We almost forgot. The Chargers and the Cardinals. We almost forgot. Phil Rivers ties the record.
I think the Cardinals forgot they were playing also.
Phil Rivers ties the record for consecutive completions at 25. He doesn't break the record, though, unfortunately. But
he was so close, though.
They win handily, but
he ties it and doesn't pull it off.
The big story, though, Melvin Gordon. He's expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks with a sprained MCL.
Yeah, I think this is honestly like a blessing in disguise because I think they're already destined for the playoffs. So it's better him to get injured and be ready for postseason than being injured during the postseason or like a week before the postseason.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a break. We come back. We have college football, and then before this show is over today, we'll discuss Monday Night Football, give our picks, but of course, college football and the drama from this weekend we'll talk about next.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, on the GSMC Football Podcast. We finished talking about the Week 12 matchups. We'll get on Monday Night Football later. But right now, we got to talk about college football, especially one game that is like Super Bowl Sunday-esque to a lot of people, and that is the game between Michigan and Ohio State. And it was a doozy, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. The big game between these two big programs goes for Ohio State once again.
62-39 is the final score, and a very disappointing way to be put out of the college football playoff.
R.I.P.
run.
Michigan's playoff chances, right?
Yeah, I think it's done. Is it not?
Oh, it's done. It's buried. So close, but yet so far. You almost had it there, Harbaugh. Almost had it. What do you think, Jeff? Has the goodwill kind of rubbed off of Jim Harbaugh and his time here at Michigan? We all know that he's the golden child of Michigan, but man, he can't beat Ohio State. Another year he doesn't win the conference. At what point do they actually start talking about the F word? Firing Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, I was like, I don't think you're allowed to say that on this podcast.
Yeah. At what point do they start murmuring, "Shall we fire Jim Harbaugh?"
Given if he loses every single game against Ohio State to like 2022, maybe 2021, then he'll be on the hot seat.
Dang. So,
but he's safe for a few more
so
years.
So 2 more losses against Ohio State. Oof.
Yeah.
Can they go that long?
Yeah, I think they can go that long.
I mean, maybe you might be right. If there's anybody that could do it, it's him.
Harbaugh has a legacy of being great, and yet just coming up short in some big games. But I think bottom line is that Michigan is still going to be a contender for years to come.
That's 7 straight wins for Ohio State. Michigan has won twice since 2003, 3 times since 2000. That means Ohio State has won this game 15 of the last 18 times. It hasn't been much of a rivalry as of late. We have had some close games, including the 2016 game where Ohio State won in double overtime. But man, I don't know. What do you take from this? Do you think that Ohio State will just continue to dominate this rivalry? Assuming Urban Meyer stays and Harbaugh stays.
Urban Meyer might not be able to stay, to be completely honest with you. But
we hear he has some health problems, so his status will be interesting to watch.
Yeah. But I will say this, that bottom line is this team with Ohio State, I mean, regardless if Meyer stays, is going to be a contender. Because it's Ohio State. It's just destined to always be a contender. And losing Urban Meyer at least will hurt. But I think they'll be able to bounce back just fine.
So does Ohio State have a legit chance at making the college football playoff now?
There has to be a lot of other aspects.
We expect them to move to like number 6 maybe? LSU lost. Washington State lost. And Michigan lost. So they're going to jump those 3. So they'll be at least 7. Maybe 6. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
They're probably going to jump UCF, Washington State, LSU, and Michigan.
I mean, I wouldn't say UCF is completely out of it because I think they need a lot of other losses to happen. Like, I think if Georgia loses to Bama, Clemson loses to Pittsburgh, and then I think they might, and then Oklahoma loses in their game to Texas, they might, keyword might, have an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. But they need a lot of losses to happen, and they need to keep winning.
Ohio State, I think if they just win their game, and Georgia loses and Oklahoma loses, they're in the playoff. What if Oklahoma wins, though, and Ohio State wins? That's where it gets tricky.
Then we go into panic mode.
I could honestly see an Oklahoma team getting jumped by Ohio State, even if they win, honestly. I don't know if that'll happen, but these rankings that are going to come out are going to be very, very interesting as we head into championship week in college football.
Yeah, this is definitely a beautiful time in college football. Championship week is a great week. And right now, it's really hard to say who's going to win each championship because I love college football in the fact that anyone can win at any time. And this is one of those type of situations in where there's so many different possibilities.
Yeah, and there's a big shakeup this week. We saw LSU. We got to talk about that game, Jeff. 7 overtimes. They lose to Texas A&M. How crazy was that game?
It was one of the craziest games I've ever watched.
Yeah, so it set a record for longest game, right? 7 overtimes, at least overtime-wise.
How do you not want to just fall asleep? How do you not it's gonna be late? I wanted to go to bed, but yet I wanted to watch this game.
Yeah,
because I knew I had to get up early in the morning to come here for the podcast. But I'm like, well, this is technically my job to watch this game, and it kept going. It was like, do you remember that? Maybe it's still going. The Energize Bunny commercial. It goes on and on and on and on. That was this game, and I'm really glad there's a rule in where they have to go for 2 after a couple of overtimes, because this could have gone on. This could have gone on way longer. But great game, one of the best games I've ever watched, and it ended with a last-second nail-biting finish, and A&M came out victorious.
Yeah, and what about that fight after the game? Kevin Falk, former Patriots player and LSU Tiger.
There was alleged problems in that fight where the A&M guy staff assaulted an LSU alum. You're showing me a picture of the fight where whoever took that picture, bravo, by the way. But there was an alleged attack on a man with Parkinson's by the A&M staff member. That's why Falk was attacking him in defense of him. But this is all alleged. So I say that you expect the kids to fight, not the 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
Or however old they were to fight.
Kevin Falk, former Patriot, former LSU Tiger director,
former
player
Super Bowl
personnel,
champion.
Involved in that. That was an ugly scene, but 7 overtimes. Crazy. Texas A&M wins. It's definitely going to put a damper on LSU's season, and we'll see where they end up in terms of which bowl game they get. But, man, what an ending there. And then we have Florida State losing. First time they've had a losing record in my lifetime. I think it's been 40-something years now. They had the longest streak in college football of winning seasons, but that is gone. Notre Dame, Clemson, and Alabama all won. All three look like they've punched their tickets. Now, I know Clemson and Alabama have their conference championship games, but I think both of us don't really expect either one of those teams to lose, right? Alabama or Clemson.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame is idle, so
I
they're
won't
ready.
say it's impossible.
Notre Dame for sure is in because they haven't lost a game and they're
not playing in the championship. Yeah, they're in. Unless no, it's impossible. It's straight up impossible.
It's actually not. Yeah, it's impossible. Like nothing can happen. Nothing can happen to get them out.
Yeah,
they didn't win a very pretty game against USC, but whoever decided it was a good idea to play in New York one week and then in Southern California the next week for college players who are not used to traveling that far. Not the smartest idea. Not the smartest.
Yeah, it was.
It worked out for them, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you imagine if they would have lost that game, though? They came out real slow. Real sluggish.
It was a nail-biter at first, but then they got their act together. Mm-hmm. But I think the main thing about this is they have a huge advantage coming from an independent team and not having to play in a championship game.
Yeah, but they also give themselves a disadvantage, too, with the type of scheduling that they have.
But they're also a football royalty.
And they play tough teams. Like, they don't... Some of the teams they played this year had bad years, like Florida State, but they can't determine that, right? Like, they played as good of a schedule as anybody on paper. It's just not their fault that team like Florida State or USC had really bad years, you know?
Yeah. Because
most of the time, Florida State and USC are two of the best 10 teams in the country, so it's not like they're playing Citadel, you know?
Yeah, true. Well, one team was tied with Citadel at halftime. You wouldn't guess who.
So, other games happen. Washington State, they lose to their rival Washington. Did you check out that game? Did you happen to catch that one?
I caught glimpses of it, and it was...
it was snowing like crazy.
It was awesome looking. It was so cool.
It was dumping.
Don't you love snow games? I'm sorry, those are the coolest games. They look amazing. In the snow, and the flakes were like... It was like a snow globe. It wasn't like little small flakes. They were big white flakes.
And I didn't check the forecast before the game, so when I turned it on, I was like, "Oh."
I didn't either. I don't think anyone did, unless you're in Washington.
I was like, "Oh, okay,
but
this is fun."
Wow, this is what you do in Madden or like NCAA college football, NCAA 17 or something like that, where you play a game. It's like let's do a full snow game because it looks just that cool.
So Washington State is no longer in contention for a playoff spot. They lose to Washington. Oklahoma beats West Virginia 59-56, continuing their claim for a playoff spot. They get to play their arch rival Texas again for the conference championship. That'll be fun. But what do you say we go to a break? When we come back, we got to discuss Monday Night Football.
Are you ready for some football? Monday Night Party.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it when we return. Monday Night Football.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We got one more game to cover for our football pleasures. It is Monday Night Football. As
Dun dun dun
dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun.
All right, I don't know. I hope we don't get sued for
Dun
saying
dun
that.
dun dun dun. It has to be like it's right on, just dead on. But okay,
I hope
anyways.
we don't get sued for saying Monday Night Football. Like, you know how you can't say Super Bowl? Like, you
Well,
can't.
you just said it.
Well, I mean, you can't say Super Bowl when you talk about this when you're in Super Bowl week, right? You say the big game. Like, you see all those advertisements, they say, oh, you ready for the big game?
Why can't you say Super Bowl?
It's copyright.
Oh, really? That's why in the commercials they don't say the Super Bowl?
I don't know if you can't say it, but you definitely can't use it like in like if you're
advertising it?
Tostitos chips or something like that. You can't say like for Super Bowl Sunday. You have to say for the big game. I swear it's wild.
Unless you get like the special Super Bowl Dr. Pepper cans or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how it all works.
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah. So tonight's game though, Titans and the Texans. The Texans have been quietly
7-3.
moving up.
3 losses, that's it.
The Titans have had a weird season where they've beaten teams like the Cowboys and the Patriots handily, and then they get demolished by the Colts. They've been very up and down. It sounds like Marcus Mariota will be playing tonight.
The Titans are also coming off a huge win against the
they lost their
Patriots.
last game.
Well, yes, they did. But I'm saying they're still on that high, though. Because that means they could beat anybody. Supposedly.
Yeah, but do you think that loss last week kind of knocked them down? I mean, it was a pretty devastating loss, right?
Yeah, 34-10 win over New England, then 38-10 loss against Indianapolis.
Fortunately for them, it sounds like Mariota will be okay to go.
Yeah. But I will say this. Houston is on a 5-game winning streak.
They are hot right now.
Hot, hot, hot.
And I don't think that
hot,
they're
hot,
playing.
hot.
I don't think they're playing their best football because their offense is still like needs improvement. They've been struggling scoring points in the red zone.
Well, I'll read you the last scores of the last couple of games. They won against Washington 23-21. Denver 19-17. Miami, that's when they really shined in those points spread, 42-23. Jacksonville, they beat 20-7, and then Buffalo 20-13. So 3 out of their 5 games were 1 score or less.
Yeah. It's, we'll see what we get with the Texans offense, but that defense has been playing very well. J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney. I mean,
Well, there is that classic saying of defense wins championships, and it's really showing.
they're a team to look out for. I think they're a dark horse right now because we know that defense is good, and Deshaun Watson, he provides a lot of upside, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of like Patrick Mahomes and him are kind of the same mold. Big arms, athletic, they can move. But we got to see that Texans offense put it together for more often, at least, because they're too good to get stopped. We've seen them kick a lot of field goals. They're only averaging about 2 touchdowns a game, sometimes less. That offense is with DeAndre Hopkins, and they got Kiki QT, who I think is a pretty good player. Demaryius
Say that
Thomas.
3 times fast.
You think Demaryius Thomas will get involved today? He didn't
He was kind of He was kind of a
got one target last game.
Yeah, and hopefully, I think for his sake, he should get more. But I will say it depends on how they play in the beginning of the first quarter.
Yeah, Mariota is apparently okay. It looks like he just got a stinger last game after leaving. He seems to be getting hurt a lot. Do you see the Titans having a chance tonight?
Yes, because they beat the Patriots. I think I'll still put them in a contention.
Do you see more of like a defensive battle, or do you think we'll see some points being thrown up there?
I can see some points going up there. I can see like I'll say at least 25.
All right. So what do you think? Who do you think will win? And what do you think the score will be?
Give me Texans 25-17.
Texans 25-17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a slightly different score, but I do think the Texans will be victorious tonight. Look, it's home. It's on prime time. Deshaun Watson. I like what they're doing. Adoree Jackson just got annihilated last week by T.Y. Hilton. I think DeAndre Hopkins will have his way with the Titans today. So 23-16 is my score. A little bit different than yours, but not too much. I think we both can agree it'll be more of a defensive struggle than an offensive outburst in this game.
Yeah.
But we will see. I'm excited about it. Any last thoughts for today?
No, that should do it. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Football Podcast. Join us tomorrow. We'll have the recap of the Monday Night Football game that's happening tonight. And we will see you tomorrow.